neighborhoods in the city, and once complete, this development will serve as the 78th. A few of the projects involved are a new Red Line subway station at 15th and Clark, riverfront seawall reconstruction, public green space, office and retail buildings, mixed-income residential housing, and an innovation center owned by the University of Illinois at Chicago for research and development.
This large project was approved by City Council despite backlash from the neighbors in the surrounding communities. Some of the major concerns include fears of displacement and not having enough affordable housing units, green space, or local hiring. To address the community's input, Mayor Lightfoot, Alderman Sigcho-Lopez, and the developer Related Midwest formed a Community Advisory Council in December of 2019. This 17-member advisory council consists of local community leaders, subject matter experts, and design professionals. They are tasked with meeting quarterly to form recommendations for the developer and the mayor's office to address the community's concerns. For example, the Advisory Council recently surveyed more than 370 neighbors about plans to include a casino in the 78 project. The River 78 Casino is a $2 billion project proposal that includes table games, hotel rooms, restaurants, and slot machines. The vast majority of residents opposed the casino, citing concerns that it would attract more crime, traffic, and gambling problems. Alderman Sigcho-Lopez not only voiced his opposition against the proposal, but he is also actively pushing back against any projects in the 78 mega development that are not supported by the majority of local residents.
It should be noted that the River 78 Casino is not the project that Mayor Lightfoot recently approved of. She approved of a different site located west in River West along the Chicago River. However, if that does not get City Council approval, it's still possible that this River 78 Casino will become another viable option. Okay, and I'm curious, so just the 78 in general, what were your initial thoughts about the project when it was first announced, and how have those changed across the time that it's been worked on?
When I first got elected, I was in opposition to the mega developments and the TIF money that was awarded to them. That was something that many residents opposed, specifically because there was little information even about the 78 and what it was. Over time, what we agreed on is to make sure that once Mayor Lightfoot decided to approve the TIF funding legally, it was voted and ratified by City Council. One of the things that we, as our due diligence, was want to organize public meetings with the community so people understood what was this proposal about. One of the things that we push is to appoint Community Advisory Council made of civic leaders and experts from the 4th Ward, 25th Ward, and 3rd Ward that are directly impacted by the 78. Those were 17 members who were appointed by Mayor Lightfoot to oversee the planning development project on the 78, the community benefits agreements, and any decision that was made on this regard. I think that because of these efforts, I think there were changes being made that I think are welcome. I think that we've done significant work in the last 3 years to move towards something that is most amicable to the 25th Ward residents, 3rd Ward and 4th Ward. We, as a result, see now that there was a proposal for a research hub that is a $1 billion investment that I think is welcome in the area. We also want to make sure that we have a residential site that is in line and in harmony with the residents. We right away, when the possibility about the casino proposal for the 78 came about, we made sure that we have that conversation with our constituents. The CAC, the Community Advisory Council, conducted a public meeting. We joined those efforts to make sure that we get the word out, that we get people to participate. Not only we conducted a public meeting, we also helped spread the word about surveys that were conducted with residents from the close vicinity of the 78. In those surveys, we saw the concerns the residents had: gambling addiction, public safety, diminishing of economic activity in Chinatown and the South Loop, the diminishing of property values. We saw out of those 500 surveys, 78% of the respondents were in opposition of a casino proposal, again, citing some of these concerns as well as the proximity to the river, potential effects and externalities to the river, to the 5 schools that are in near proximity, as well as potential issues that could put in jeopardy the Chinatown High School, among others. We were not included in that casino committee that the mayor set up that is made of chairs and vice chairs of committees. every proposal at the table, we conduct a cost-benefit analysis before any decision is rushed, because sacrificing economic engines of the city like Chinatown or the South Loop are costs that are associated with this plan. It's not only benefits, but there are significant costs. So I think that rushing into decisions, not always in the best interest of the public. We need to make sure that we talk to Mayor Lightfoot about those $175 million of revenue that the casino may bring in.
You mentioned Mayor Lightfoot. How do you think that she has been handling the 78 deal in general?
Well, I think that, Mayor Lightfoot, when residents are expressing concern, when residents are participating actively, we cannot ignore them. We cannot pay just lip service to community feedback. We have to take it seriously. And I think that dismissing those concerns, I think could be a huge issue if we rush into something. I also think that Mayor Lightfoot, in my opinion, is working backwards. When first we put the locations that are adequate for the casino operators before we consider every single location, and we look at what's best for the city of Chicago, which must include what's best for those 3 wards that could potentially be affected by a casino proposal without proper planning. In terms of the 78, it took us 3 years to be in a better position. And now overnight, we scratched those plans. We put a new process in place. We put a new evaluation system in place, and we are disregarding what we hear from constituents. I think that is a concern to rush into plans without taking that into consideration.
There was another, I know that you've also recently voiced support for an ordinance that would require 30% minimum for affordable housing units in gentrifying neighborhoods throughout the city of Chicago. Did I get that right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm just curious, your thoughts on, do you see a potential conflict there where, you seem to be a proponent of aldermanic privilege, although I understand you prefer the term like community privilege, right? Getting the input from the community, listening to the community, while also at the same time being a proponent of requiring something that would be imposed throughout the city. Do you see any kind of conflict there at all?
Well, certainly, I think that aldermanic prerogative has not only been misused, but abused, right? In terms of some of the recent scandals. Throughout history, we have seen that community prerogative has not been a reality. I think that's what Mayor Lightfoot campaigned on, and making sure that we give a voice to our constituents. But we also have seen not only aldermanic prerogative being abused, but also mayoral prerogative being abused. So I think that those are practices that must change. And I think that our administration has, especially after inheriting such a mess in terms of corruption, in terms of decisions that favor developers rather than the community. So it's clear that what we hear from our community is that we need community prerogative. What we need is processes in place that give people a voice, and ultimately that we are listening to those concerns and our decisions reflect those conversations, that we don't dismiss. And that's exactly what we're hearing from Mayor Lightfoot in this issue of the casino, that we're going to have to be the sacrificial lamb if this is good, quote unquote, for the city. Yet we don't know. There's no no cost benefit analysis even to confirm that. If you're looking into in between the lines, has a lot more to do with those campaign contributions that Mayor Lightfoot is also receiving from these casino operators, and little from the residents who are voicing their concerns. So again, when we talk about reform, those are the same things that residents have said about aldermanic prerogative, that campaign contributions are buying the favor of the alderman or the mayor, instead of having processes that are transparent, that are objective, and are going to ultimately reflect the will and the concerns of the residents.
So essentially, regardless of if aldermanic privilege stays or goes, you just want to make sure that whatever reform happens includes transparent processes that do include communities.
What we hear from constituents do not want to replace aldermanic prerogative by mayoral prerogative to get the exact same outcome. Residents and constituents have said, we want a better process. We want guidelines, as we have put in the 25th ward, when we have had a community advisory council that we both have entrusted, including Mayor Lightfoot, to the oversight of this project. And when we see the minute that things don't go our way, Mayor Lightfoot creates a parallel track. We got to wonder what Mayor Lightfoot means by aldermanic prerogative.
Yeah. So the last topic, I'm just curious your thoughts about gentrification in Pilsen. I guess, one, do you see any benefits to it? But then also, what do you think is the best way to address gentrification specifically in Pilsen, but, within your entire ward?
The issue with gentrification and the issue that we have seen when we normalize displacement, when we see that over 14,000 residents in a little bit over a decade get displaced, there's nothing normal about that trend. Those are huge numbers. When we talk about benefits, we cannot talk about public safety getting better just because we replace, long-term residents with new residents, but we're moving the issue from one place to another part of the city. That is not solving the problem. We want to talk about the issue of displacement. We have to create affordable housing options. We have to regulate development, as you mentioned, right? The 30% set aside as something that we do think it is necessary so that we can create affordable housing for essential workers, for people in the city that right now are not able to afford it. So who is going to supply the affordable housing portion? That is not government. And we also got to regulate the private development and big development that goes to work. When we see processes where developers can give campaign contributions and they buy their way into the community without oversight, we see the results of that. And again, by regulating private development, we already have seen a creation of almost 100 units of affordable housing. I think that we will be way on our way if we add 18th and Peoria and throughout the world to reach 1,000 units of affordable housing through preservation, through preserving naturally occurring affordable housing. We have now an anti-predatory law so that developers don't harass small homeowners and pressure them to sell. Got to do a lot of work in terms of also property tax assessment. So what I see here is a lot of corruption, a lot of irregularities that cannot be normalized. We need a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of creating better processes to make sure that property taxes are charged based on the ability to pay and not based on what kind of a lawyer I'm able to afford or what kind of elected officials are involved in that in those processes. We will battle segregation, we will battle discrimination, and we have more inclusive and diverse communities. But we are committed to fight those practices, to put better practices and better legislation in place. We should not be accepting this narrative that displacement is inevitable.
And I can just hear throughout the entire interview we've had with you, just the passion that you have for things like that. So I wish you luck, and I hope you maintain that passion. The last question we have, typically we ask a pizza related question, but we're going to change it a little bit because you're the 25th ward and you've got both Chinatown and Pilsen. Again, probably two of my favorite neighborhoods. So 2 questions. Where's a favorite place for you to get food in Pilsen? And then where's a favorite place for you to get food in Chinatown?
Well, it all depends, right? I tell you, just in terms of if I want to get some good mole, I go to Mole Village or La Esperanza. That's when I go to Pilsen. But and there's so many wonderful places, so I don't want to get in trouble with that. But in terms of Chinatown, it'll be difficult because you have so many options, right? In terms of where do I go, it all depends what kind of food, right? We want to order. Triple Crown is one of them. I go to in the evenings. I go to Phoenix too. I mean, there's so many of them. I tell you, for spicy food, La Sichuan is a great place for spicy food. So I can give you a long list if you give me some time.
Those are great. So you named 3 for Chinatown. Let me help you narrow it down a little bit with Pilsen. Let's say you want to get breakfast in Pilsen. Good Mexican breakfast. Where do I go?
Azul on 18th.
18th and what?
Azul is on 18th and Troop.
Okay. I'll be sure to check all those places out.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciated it. And we're just so in awe of you, and please keep doing all of the good work.
No, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to listen to the hearing, but thank you again. I appreciate the interview, and if I can help with anything, please let us know.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. This is our last episode for a while. We're taking a break this summer, but we will be back in the fall with more war stories, backstories, and hot takes from aldermen and alderwomen from around the city. If you like the show, please rate and review it and let your friends know. You can also follow us on Twitter by searching either the podcast name or the handle Tweet Your Alderman. That's your spelled U-R. We'd love to hear from you this summer about which alderman you'd like to hear from next.
This episode was produced, recorded, and edited by Sarah Scott and myself. Elliot Danis and Eric Castellan did research for the interview, and Harrison Lee did our sound engineering. Graphic design was done by Olivia DePriel. And as always,